Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much for coming to today's meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. My name is James. I'm the Democratic Services Officer here at Surrey Heath. I'll be clerking today's meeting. Before we begin, I'll just outline the fire safety procedure. There are no scheduled fire alarms today, so if you do hear an alarm sounding, then please assume it to be genuine. The fire exit is through the main doors there and follow the green fire exit signs, down the stairs, out the doors, and then around to Knoll Road car park. There'll be a procession of staff that you can follow. Please don't use the lift. If you require lift access usually, then please make yourselves known to myself, and suitable arrangements will be put in place to evacuate from the building safely. Otherwise, we shall begin with the meeting. So item 1 on the agenda is the election of a chair. Members, please can I have a nomination for the position of chair? Microphone.
I nominate Councillor Helen Whitcroft.
Thank you, Councillor Mark Gordon. Is there a seconder?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Councillor White. Therefore, I shall officially confirm that Councillor Helen Whitcroft is duly elected as the chair for this hearing, and I shall pass over to her.
Thank you very much. Before we begin, as James says, I'm Helen Whitcroft. My ward is Frimley Green. If my colleagues would like to introduce themselves.
I'm Councillor Barry White and my ward is Bagshot and North Windlesham.
Councillor Mark Gordon, Bagshot, North Windlesham Ward.
Perhaps if the officers would also like to introduce themselves, please, perhaps starting here.
I'm Diane Murphy. I'm Principal Litigation Lawyer for Surrey Heath Borough Council.
And again, I'm James Hall, Democratic Services Officer for Surrey Heath Borough Council.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 2, declarations of interest. Could I ask members to confirm that they have no disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest in the application before us this morning? I do confirm. Item number 3 is the procedure of the subcommittee hearing. The purpose of this item is to determine an application to grant a premises licence at Londis, 43 Windsor Road, Chobham, Woking, postcode GU24 for LD. Before we start, I'd just like to check, please, if I may, that everybody present has received copies of the papers that have been published prior to the meeting. Yep, lovely. Before we start the hearing process, I'd like to draw your attention to item 3 on the agenda, where you'll find set out the procedure that will be followed during the hearing. I want to be certain that everybody understands the order of the business, which we will follow, please. Yep, everybody on that? Brilliant, thank you. So that brings us on then to the main item itself, which is the determination, item 4, determination of an application to review the premises licence of Londis 43 Windsor Road, Chobham, Woking, postcode S4. Brings us on to the presentation by the licensing officer, who is shortly to join us. I'm obviously too quick.
Yes, I will go and see if I can find
No, she's just...
I can see her moving behind the door.
she's just coming now.
I was just saying, I'm obviously going too quick for you.
I'm so sorry, it's me. Hello, everyone.
If you'd like to go ahead, Miss Barnshaw, and when you're ready, no hurry.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're here to discuss the premises licence for, premises licence application for 43 Chobham Road, which will The application is for, excuse me, the sale of alcohol between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. It's off licence. And we have received a number of objections to the premises licence application, and the residents, or the objectors, are here today. Sorry, I'm a bit out of breath. To represent themselves and their representations. And we also have the premises licence applicant and his agent, Mr Kapoor. It is Mr Kapoor, isn't it? Oh, Mr Panchal, sorry. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. If I could ask if you wouldn't mind presenting your report when you're ready, please.
So my report really lists the, at Annex D, the representations from the people objecting. The application is at Annex A, and the plan of the premises is at Annex B. The actual, so the DPS will be Mr. Pramajit Singh, who's also here today. We have a list of conditions that the applicant has submitted for the operating schedule. That's at Annex C. And I've taken the liberty to add some photographs of the area and the road, and that's at Annex E. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The panel will now hear any representations from the responsible authorities and any other parties. Please note that your written representations have been circulated to all parties to the hearing and have been read carefully by the panel. Would those addressing the committee please clearly state their name and who they represent when making their representations. No time restrictions are enforced for this committee, nor does it restrict the number of speakers from whom it expects to hear. However, please consider carefully whether you can add anything further to what may have already been said. Interest parties are reminded that the committee will not attach weight to the volume of oral submissions. The committee is only able to consider the review in relation to the 4 licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, the prevention of children from harm. I now call upon the clerk to confirm who the speakers are today, please.
Thank you, Chair. So today we've got 4 speakers on behalf of the public representations that were made: Anne Finn, Brian Finn, Eugene Flynn and Jackie Evans. And we've also have speaking today the applicant, Paramjit Singh, and their agent, Surendra Panchal.
Thank you. Are there any questions from either of you before we start?
Not yet.
No. Lovely, thank you. In that case, could I move on, please, to the presentation by the applicant or his representative, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm not going to take a lot of time of yours. I'm going to try and be short and sweet and try to explain to you what we are going to go through with the application. Chairman, I'm just bringing to your notice that there are no objections from the responsible authorities. There are no responsible authorities. And that is so important according to legislation guidance 182. What I'm going to say to you is the license holder, Mr. Paramjit Singh, holds a personal license since 2020. He has an extensive operation experience in licensed premises. They have successfully managed 2 other Londis stores, including one in Woking, where the proposed DPS has been the DPS, has been DPS at the Woking store since 2023. and another in Staines. Both premises operate without issue and in full compliance with the licensing objectives. There is no breaches of any conditions on both the premises. This is going to be a family-run business. They have a family, because all the stores that they are having in place are family-run and managed in family way. The applicant's son also holds a personal license for sitting here, and is going to be involved in strengthening and supervision of compliance at the premises. The DPS and management team have a clear and practical understanding of the 4 licensing objectives and have demonstrated this through their track record, which I have just spoken to you, with no issues arising at their existing premises. Turning to the representations, we note that at the page 40, it is stated that there is no clear justification for introducing a further alcohol outlet. However, the issue of need is not a matter of this licensing committee. Paragraph 14.19 of the section guidance 182 guidance makes clear that the need or dependent for licensed premises is not a relevant consideration. Furthermore, concerns raised in relation to parking and planning are not matters for this subcommittee. The committee's role is to determine the application with reference to the 4 licensing objectives only. Ma'am, there is also another paragraph lately introduced into section guidance 182, number 1.18, which states, when making licensing decisions, all licensing authorities should consider the need to promote growth and deliver economic benefits. So we'd like you to look at that when you're making your decision. In relation to the suggestion that the premises may cause nuisance, there is no evidence before the subcommittee to support this paragraph. If you look at 9.43, you have it in your bundle also of the section guidance, makes clear that decision must be evidence-based and not speculation or assumption at the moment. The premises is situated within a residential area and is intended to serve the local community. It is a convenience store, not an alcohol-led premises. It is anticipated that the majority of the customers will be local residents accessing the shop on foot rather than generating additional traffic or pressure or parking pressures. The applicant has put forward a number of additional measures to directly address any concerns raised, and that is one of the reasons you see that the responsible authorities have approved the application. We also furtherly suggest that for the public nuisance, we are putting in a condition that there will be no deliveries between 6 o'clock in the evening to 8 o'clock in the morning. So deliveries will take place only by 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock during the daytime to avoid the disturbance. There is always, or there is going to be a contracted waste collection service in place at the premises. The front of the premises will be swept at least twice daily in the morning and evening, and more frequently if required. There will be, I'm going to go through how the 4 licensing objectives in a minute will be promoted. I can also bring to your attention, staff will be appropriately trained in accordance with the structured training program, which I'm going to go through in a minute. There will be a Challenge 25 policy in place. There will be refusal logbooks, incident logbooks, which I'm going to demonstrate in a minute. We submit that these measures directly and proportionately address the concerns raised in the representations. The applicant appreciates the concerns of local residents and is committed to working positively with the community. The premise is intended to be a community-focused convenience store where alcohol is ancillary to the primary function of grocery retail. In light of the absence of any responsible authority objections, the experience and good track record of the DPS, the robust conditions and additional measures proposed, which I am going to show you, and the lack of evidence of any likely harm, we respectfully submit that the application fully promotes the licensing objectives. Ma'am, I'm going to go through how the licensing objectives, which will be quite useful to your, when you're making your decisions. There will be a training manual which will be at the premises. The training manual normally has a guidance which states the check of right to work of all the employees. When they are employed here, they will be checked, their documents will be placed into that. A copy of the premises license will be inserted in the book. A Section 57 notice under the Licensing Act 2003 will be provided. There will be an authorization to sale of alcohol under the guidance, Section 182. There will be a staff training register. So all the staff, when they're trained, their register would be put into that, and there will be a training statement. All the staff will be given a small booklet which has the 4 licensing objectives and that. At the premises, there will be an incident book. Any incidents will be recorded at the premises. There will be a refusal book when they follow the Challenge 25 policy, because there will be a Challenge 25 policy laid up at the premises where all alcohol will be displayed. With the public nuisance, there will be a notice put up which will say, please leave quietly, consider our neighbors. And there will be a CCTV certificate to share that there is CCTV which is at the premises. So, ma'am, you can see that all these things. May I also bring to your attention, all these stores that are presently run are also run in the same manner and in the same way when they have, and that is why, hence, there are no breaches of the conditions in the other stores. The beauty about this running of this, promoting the forums, the daughter of Mr. Paramjit is a law student and just finished her law. And she's the one who handles the paperwork, so she understands how law should be followed, and she understands how the law should be taken work. She looks at all the matters and makes sure that the dad keeps everything under control. So that's another plus point that the shop has. With all this, I'm happy to take any questions you have, and accordingly, we invite the subcommittee to grant this premises license. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
You mentioned CCTV will cover the front of the building. How far from the front will it cover? So there's been obviously a few concerns from the residents about people gathering outside and potential public nuisance. So from your CCTV point of view, how far will you cover from the doorway, please?
Yeah, there will be CCTV laid out.
Sorry,
Microphone.
Sorry, Chair. There will be a CCTV on the outside. I've just discussed with Mr. Paramjit, and Mr. Paramjit had a little bit of time before even I came in to discuss with one of the neighbors to where the CCTV is going to be. But there will be a CCTV outside, as well as there will be a CCTV at the back side, so that will cover the area around for the responsible authorities to have a look. Mind you, there's another thing I forgot to tell you. The CCTV by regulation will be 31 days, and they will be able to download any images that the responsible authorities would like to take. Thank you.
You mentioned the waste collection service. Does that include waste outside the shop, waste baskets or waste things outside of the shop, as well as there being a collection, obviously a bulk collection?
Yeah, ma'am, when you have a waste collection, the contract is the waste collection would be picked up every week. So there will be a bigger bin and there will be smaller bins in front of the shop. So the smaller bins will be offloaded into the bigger bins, where the bigger bins, the main lorries would come in, they'll pick up the bigger bin once a week and clear the rubbish. But what I mentioned to you also, that when it will be necessary for most of the shops to make sure that the front is clear because the people are using the shop. So Mr. Paramjit is going to employ his staff to make sure twice or thrice the front part of the shop is always kept clean.
I couldn't quite hear you when you mentioned the hours 8 to 6. What was that involving?
the timing that you heard. I said the deliveries. When I say deliveries, you know, when they ask the wholesalers to deliver stuff, that stuff will not be delivered, will only be delivered at 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening. Because normally what happens in premises that the neighbors get concerned, because if you have deliveries coming after 8 o'clock in the evening, you tend to make that noise, which why we are saying in the condition that there will be no deliveries after 6 o'clock.
Right, thank you
Thank
for
you very
answering those. So I'd now, if I can, like to call upon the public representatives to present their case for objecting for the grant of the premises licence. I believe I have Anne Finn, Brian Finn, Eugene Flynn and Jackie Evans. Does that sound right? Okay, lovely. So can we start with Anne Finn then, please?
We really don't feel that it is appropriate to have that sort of store in a mainly residential area. Chobham is well served already by convenience stores, and the road can be quite busy at times, and the deliveries on such a small forecourt are a concern to us. Everything else, I think, is detailed in everyone's submissions.
Lovely, thank you very much. Brian Finn, did you wish to add further?
Yeah. Obviously, our situation is put clearly in the papers. If you've read them, yes. Have you? Yes. Have you all read them? Yes, we've read them. Clearly and clear. So our position is quite clear. I mean, we've owned the property of 39A since 1986. I've been there a long time. And I've seen the activity. We see children are running around at school times and all the rest of it. And it is a very residential bit. We have a tenant upstairs who also leases the picture frame shop from me. She's really frightened of what can happen. So there is a situation where I listen to all of these things that they're going to put in place with CCT and all this sort of thing. But as I said to my wife earlier on, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. So seeing these things happen day to day, week to week in a safe way, I don't get it. I don't think that's right. The hours,
Okay.
Open till 11 o'clock every night. It's just not fair.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just confirm, because the headset wasn't on when I did. You asked us if we had read the paperwork. I'd like to confirm that obviously we have, because we wouldn't be able to make a decision without reading all the, not just your paperwork, but everybody's paperwork. So it's something that I can say with confidence that the three of us have gone through in considerable detail. Moving on then, please, if Mr. Flynn, would you like to add further?
Yes, so thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And it was very interesting to hear Mr. Pachel's assessment of the application. So my property is right next door to 43. In fact, we've got a party wall that forms part of the actual boundary of my property. And I probably was the first one to respond, and by email, so I didn't go into a lot of detail. But what I'd like to say is that, as Brian said, this is quite a quiet community with some nice local shops. The introduction of something like a Londis, in my opinion, would actually devalue my property, fair and simple. All this retrospective CT cameras and signage Well, it's there for a reason, because everyone knows it's going to cause an issue. Why would you bother doing it otherwise? You know, it's retrospective, you know. I had previously told the council, this is a while ago, that it's an issue with parking in that, when the previous tenant was there. And I submitted a video of a near accident right in front of that property, because the children come past in the morning on bicycles and just reversed out, and next minute screech, oh, we missed, you know. What are we waiting for? A child to be run over? You know, are we all going to go, oh, well, we caught it on CCTV, that's lovely. I think it's ridiculous that anyone would actually think that it's a good place to put a property that's open to 11 o'clock at night selling alcohol in a nice quiet community like that. A secondary thing, parking in front of my property, there's a small space between myself and Jackie's. It's literally no more than 4 metres. We have had issues before where people park there, and I sent the video to the council before and the parking officer. This means in the morning when I try to take my son to school, I have to go into the outside lane, which is causing an issue, and I can't see because there's a car parked there. I liked what he said about, we can't have speculation. He said 2 things. Footfall. He said, most people will be walking to the shop. How does he know that? Has he just made that up? You know, he's saying that we can't say there's things wrong with this application, but he's making so, well, I reckon that people will probably walk to the shop and not park there. How do you know that? Where's the evidence? They've got 2 properties, one in Woking and one in Staines. And no issues with those properties. Have they supplied any evidence to the councillors to say that we've never had any issues with those properties? We don't know. I mean, if that's the case and that's true, why not present it as part of the application? So, all in all, I can't see why anyone would even consider this as a good application. So, I've probably said enough, but thank you for listening. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. And finally, did you want to step in there? That's fine.
So based on your point you've raised, supporting the lack of breaches in the 2 properties there, the fact that police have not come forward today at all with any evidence supporting any past misdemeanours speaks volumes. So if the police had concerns about the way it was run, they would be here today voicing their objections. So the police have not submitted any representation at all, nor the Environment and Health. So during this process, they will have done their work, first of all, spoken to the applicants, done their research, and there's nothing at all to show there's been any past instances there, the way they run their businesses. That's why they're not here today. So just to reassure you, that work has been done. Otherwise, the police will be here in spades today.
Hi. Can I just ask a question about that? Because I'm completely clueless on how these meetings and things, I just live in the area. So does that mean that if there have been no submissions, does that mean they've come back saying there are no issues? They've actively detailed that, or
the police
they
have
just
done the
haven't
research
come back?
Are satisfied there's not enough cause for concern of the way their business is run.
Right, and they've
to
come
be here
back to
today.
the council to say that?
Yeah, they'll always be here today otherwise. That's why the police have put them.
No, they're 2 separate things, aren't they?
So-
They
Sorry,
might not have,
what?
like, my councillor hasn't, she's not here today, and I've emailed her, but I haven't heard anything back, so I don't know, has she seen it, has she not seen it? Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm just understanding, so can you help me with the process? So
Every
the
application,
police
first of all,
have to come
the
back
police have a
and say-
chance to put their say, first of all. And the police
Right.
will do their evidence first. They'll go in and the police will speak to the operators. They'll look at the background. If you're at the premises, they'll do their research, first of all.
Okay.
And if the police had any cause for concern, they then make an appearance in the panel today and put objections in place saying, actually, we don't feel they're fit for our people. So I'm a DPS. I've got a business that sells alcohol for my 38 years in the trade doing it. So this is how the process works. So the fact that police aren't here today, the fact that police have put no submissions in place, says the police are happy with their conduct as licensees and responsible retailers.
Can I possibly check with the police on that then? Because just in case
Yeah,
they forgot, maybe it was a Friday
Do they normally
afternoon.
come back to you and say
and
everything's
then,
good?
if I can't find anything, I would totally agree with you. But I will check with the local police forces.
The
two
assumption
properties.
is with any of the consultees, the police, and there's obviously various other organisations that, when we receive these applications, that the licensing officer is obliged to seek opinion from. And the assumption is that unless we hear back from them, they are happy for it to proceed. That it's
Right, so it's an assumption rather than they have to come back
Well,
saying
that's fine then.
everything
I'll
is
Yes,
okay.
that's
I'll
right.
check
If we don't
independently,
hear,
if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, I've never
if we
been-
don't hear, we assume that they're happy because
Right, okay,
otherwise
so
they
it is
would
an assumption.
object. That's how the process works.
But yeah, I'll check independently then. Is it possible to get the addresses of the two properties so that I can check?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Or,
we-
Would you mind submitting?
Sorry, ma'am, I can clarify something that we are concerning. Number one, the police, if you don't mind, Chair, can I, with the permission of the Chair, every premises under the Licensing Act are on its own merits. And the police had already spoken to us during the application period and also checked the normal of Mr. Paramjit's two premises and his personal matter, whether he's got a criminal record or what his places are and how well he's run the police. That's the police's job to do. For instance, last week we had an objection from a premises that where we were transferring and the police objected and it didn't go through. So in the same way, all applications, if I'm not mistaken, are the police's matter is to see whether the applicant is correct in running it. The other two premises is not a matter for this committee or yourself to look at. It is the police's matter to see how
But
good
you
or any
said
criminal.
that this was one of the main points that when you said,
Yeah,
I'm
but that is
applying
the
for this,
main-
they have two properties, they never had an issue. So
That is a
why would
matter
you
for
say
the,
that then?
that is a matter for the police to have a look whether he is competent enough or not in running businesses. He may not be competent enough to run the businesses, and then the police would object and say, well, I'm not satisfied that he'll run the businesses in a satisfactory manner in promoting the 4 licensing objectives. Or he may be, even without the 2 premises, he may be capable enough for answering or learning or has learned or has got no criminal record, or his business stature might be as good as what he's doing in his
But
business.
that's not what you said. You said there was no issues. He may be very good at running these businesses.
But that is what I'm saying, that he has no
was there
issues.
any issues with these two properties?
I definitely come back to you and say, yeah, he has no issues. That is what the police's matter is. And if you want to
But
check,
the two
you're more.
properties, not the person, the two properties, did they have issues?
Yeah, you can
Sorry,
have the
can I-
addresses.
can I just
We're quite
interrupt?
willing to present it. We are quite willing to let you go and even visit those premises.
Can
We are not-
sorry, can I just interrupt this? From this committee's perspective, and indeed from the perspective of the officers within the local authority, as Councillor Gordon and myself have explained, that the assumption is that the police, we cannot obviously speak for the inquiries that the police would make in this nature. However, we, by a matter of process, can only, the fact that the police have not responded and not raised objection would tell us that they don't have an objection. That is the way the process works. If we've not heard from them, we have to assume that they don't have that objection. What their process is to reach that, obviously it's not for us to say. Yeah, and again, if you wanted to take
when we
that
said
up, then
this
you
could
would
be a
need to take that up with
safety
them to
issue,
find out what
He said it
their...
was an assumption. How do you do that? He assumed that people will walk to the shop or they won't take their car. That's an assumption. So when he says these are the reasons why we've done it, they're all assumptions as well, aren't they?
In that
know that people will
respect,
drive to that shop?
yes, but
So,
he is obviously entitled to present his case as you are to present yours, and then it is up to the 3 of us, with the support of our officers and the legislation that surrounds it, to obviously make a decision about whether or not we feel the premises, it should be licensed and the conditions that should have placed upon it. Sorry, I think we've still got you to come. We've diverted a little bit. So if you'd like to...
A question on
Yes, of course.
Because I'm really inexperienced about this.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry,
I-
you guys.
I'd
It might be
rather-
bread and butter
no,
to you
feel
guys,
free.
but I've never even been in the council building.
No, you're
So
absolutely
when
fine.
you say about putting conditions on something, can you? So, for example, one of my concerns about the application is that it is a licence from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So, just a question on that: is the council, the licensing team, do do you have the ability, the right to put any conditions on? Actually, we think 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. is too broad a spectrum, and
Okay.
therefore we would put a condition of, I don't know, whatever. Do you see what
Okay,
I'm saying? 'Cause
at
I
this
just don't
point,
know.
obviously, I don't want to go into the individual conditions. However, the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
So there are certain things that we cannot, for example, we cannot look into the issue of parking. We cannot look into the issue of devaluation of property, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. But that's led by the legislation as
Okay.
opposed to what the three of us, personal opinion of the three of us. Licensing
really
hours
helpful.
is something that we can look at.
So-
There are certain things that we can apply and certain things that we can't. So, and obviously that's for us to be led by the council's legal team in terms of what we, if just that, what we can and what we can't. Did you, obviously I haven't really given you the opportunity
No,
to...
that's okay, and
to
I'm sorry,
speak.
because some of mine
No,
might be
you're
about
fine.
questions rather than
No, I'd rather...
kind of presenting, sorry.
No, I'd rather you went away
so,
knowing that...
Yeah, so
but,
I would really like to understand, in line with the 4 terms of the licence, I don't know the right language, but is there an argument, is there a positive argument about requesting a licensing of 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week, given the fact that you have mentioned in your presentation that you believe that you're here to support the local community, and that you believe that people will be coming on foot, and you believe that alcohol and, I don't know if you mentioned about tobacco or vape, and I don't know whether that's in a licence, I'm not really sure. And you believe, because I think you said it, that that is ancillary to what you're offering. Can you help me understand the positive argument for requesting for 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week? Because for me, that's quite an important part of it, as a local community person.
Yeah, I can help you.
Okay, thank you.
It's simple. It's the core hours of the borough. In the licensing policy, there is a licensing policy of all the boroughs. Although licensing policy is not a law, but there is a licensing policy. And in the licensing policy, normally it's the councillors who normally go around along with the responsible authorities and create that licensing policy. And in their licensing policy, they would put down that these are the core hours, what the borough requires. There are core hours which would say the restaurants will not be given licenses after 1 o'clock. It's not necessarily a law, but it could come and be discussed here, and the councillors could approve after 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock. But the hours that we put in, 7 to 11, are the core hours. If I'm not mistaken, your legal would be able to let us know that it is in the licensing policy what the core hours are of the borough are. And those are the core hours for all businesses to run in Surrey Heath. And in that core hours, my client has felt that there is a demand of the local community between 7 and 11, which they're going to open the shop. You could argue and you could present your case to the committee here today to say that we would say that we would like 7 to 11 because that's what we would like to open and serve the community. The committee could come back to the council at this hearing and request what hours they feel they would like the shop to be open, serving alcohol, mind you. The shop can remain open 24 hours, but the licensable activity, which you are arguing today to say why 7 to 11, is always your presentation to the committee on what grounds you would like that hours to be, and it would be up to the committee to decide.
Oh, sorry. Hello? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. My mum always says I've got quite a loud voice, so I wouldn't think of it. Have you worked up, I don't know, your business plan so that you already know what hours you're looking to operate? Because I think what I've learnt from what you've said is that you've put in those hours because their core hours or their required hours, or there was something like that. And so it would be really helpful to understand what hours you're planning to be open, because if they're different hours, that's quite helpful to know. Well, I think it's quite helpful to know.
Yeah, since you're business people sitting here with
Oh, I'm not a business person.
with the other
Okay,
people,
I'm a housewife.
having shops, everybody works up on the plans of how they want to run their businesses, and they work out on a plan what their income and the outgoing and how they will be able to make it a profitable venture. So
Sure.
for them, they worked it out how the profitable venture and what the demands are in the area. Mr. Paramjit Singh has worked out what the demands are in the area, how we would run and how we would satisfactorily support the local community. Because without the local community's support, his business is not going to run successfully. Let me tell you that.
Sure.
Without you going and buying something
Yeah.
from there, it's going to make a difference for him. And for
Understood.
him to go against you would be a failure. So
Understood,
he is going to cooperate with all of you once he gets a license, and he's going to cooperate with everybody around the area. And that is what the thing is. But the core hours, as I explained, I can't keep going on.
No, but
Okay,
the
let me,
operating.
there's two things I'd like to say.
Okay, sorry.
Firstly, sorry, it's gone. Yeah, that's okay.
I don't know what
Sorry, it's coming from over here as well. Don't worry, James, could you, yeah, is that good?
Sorry.
There's two things. The first thing I'd like to it sounds, remember that the shop opening hours are not necessarily the licensable hours. If you think sometimes you're going to shops and the covers are pulled down, so they are two different things. They're not one and the same thing. So just because the store is open from 7 till 11 does not mean that we cannot put a limitation on those hours, whatever that may be. Now, referring back to the core hours that you mentioned, we don't actually have, in Surrey Heath, we don't actually have hours per se. It is something that is, a judgment is in that way. So, that isn't something that is within our policy. Now, what I'd like to do, if I may, is just check that everybody has asked the questions that they would like to ask, if anybody has any more, either way. Any more? And then I'm moving on up here to see Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, so one quick question on the hours. So my business, I'm licensed to midnight, but I shut at 11 o'clock. So as it is now, if your licence was granted till 11 o'clock, do you intend to serve alcohol till 11 o'clock? What's your intention? I think was your question you were trying to before. So what's your intended hours? Is it to go from 7 to 11 if licence is granted? What's your...
Yeah, that's the idea, that if you're open, they're going to be open 7 to 11. And if they're open 7 to 11, we would like the licensable activities also to run from 7 to 11. And again, it's a discretion of the committee. So it is 7 to 11 that what we are thinking of running. Again, Sunday hours could be less than...
One more question, sorry. So your competition in the area, so the Co-op and the other stores licensed in there, on a Sunday, I believe they close at 10 o'clock. Do you feel there's a business case to open for the last hour on a Sunday?
Yeah, I think on Sunday we are happy to close at 10 o'clock.
Okay, bear with me just a second. Is there, obviously, there is an early opening on Sunday morning as well. So I guess what I'm asking is, as far as you're concerned, obviously Councillor Gordon has mentioned 10 o'clock on a Sunday. Is there, as far as you're concerned, any movement, on the mornings in particular Sunday, and the other nights of the week as well?
Ma'am, because the shop's going to be open at...
Sorry.
So, no problem. The hours that we are looking at is Monday to Saturday, which would be open at 7 in the morning. We are happy to open at 10 o'clock on Sunday, because Sunday is normal hours, 10 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Those are the Sunday hours we propose to this committee.
8 o'clock.
No, Sunday ko hai na?
8 o'clock.
Sunday training hours hai.
Sorry, you had a question. No, you're fine.
It's just a really new experience for me. So, you kindly mentioned about the co-op. So, like, I'm a housewife. I use local convenience stores, and so the only thoughts I had was, okay, well, what is reasonable around that area? And I take your point that what you put the licence for isn't necessarily has to exactly match what hours you're open. And I take your point, Woking and Staines. I've no idea where those shops are, and I don't know whether they're in the centre or, to me, Woking and Staines, they're bigger places compared to Chobham. But I looked at the Spa because, to me, I thought the Spa was quite similar to a Londis. And I wrote it down, hang on. So Spa, they do 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Sunday they do 7 till 8. And then I looked at Windlesham because I thought, again, similar-sized village. And what did I get? So Windlesham Wines for the licensing bit. It varies, but the earliest time they open is 11. The latest closing they have is 9:30. And then I looked at Londis in Goldsworth Park. They're 6 till 9:30, Sunday 8 till 9:30. I know a couple in Woking again. So it's really hard to find anywhere. I don't know whether they've been licensed 7 till 11, but I can't find anywhere that operates 7 till 11, even in the bigger places and the more, what's the right word? Like where busy. What's the right word? Like not where the houses are. What's that word? Commercial. That's it. Commercial. So what I'm hoping, because I think what I've heard there is that there is a plan to open from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. 7 days a week, although possibly something different on a Sunday, I think you mentioned. And I think I've also heard, like, we're not meant to relate it to parking and we're not meant to relate it to demand, but there was also commentary about they believe that there is a demand for those hours. So I'm just really struggling to understand where do you go if it's not a licensing issue about the parking and the demand and stuff? Because I think you're right. There's definitely a demand for milk and bread and what have you on our side. We used to have Vicky. Do you remember Vicky's? Yeah, so Vicky's was there. I think that was open until about 9. And it was really handy. But I think my concern is if we're looking at 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. and is alcohol ancillary or isn't it? And I Googled, what does Londis mainly do? 45% of Londis business, it says on the internet, is alcohol and vapes. So that's the blur that I'm trying to give you to help represent what I'm kind of a bit.
When we retire in a bit, we will obviously, because we are advised what we can and can't take on board. Although the parking and the demand and all those may have been mentioned, that is something that we will just, as if we have not heard, because we cannot consider, that is not part of the remit of what we consider. No, it's not. Right. So straight away, irrelevant. It's not relevant.
Fair enough.
So that's fine. Can I just confirm two things?
Sorry, if I could just address a question, a point of concern for the chair before we look at retiring. It might be helpful at this point to actually ask the applicant to confirm what hours they're actually planning on doing, Monday through Sunday, because what has been said today in terms of Sunday opening is inconsistent with the application.
I'm going back to that because I'd like to be clear what it is exactly in terms of the opening and for each day for May, which was the question I was going to ask appeared on your part to be a bit of confusion over Sunday, and if you could confirm what you're actually, because obviously what you're asking for licensing hours doesn't necessarily relate to your opening times. It could be that you end up with a licence to 11 o'clock and decide to close at 9. So what I'd like to, if you wouldn't mind, is if you could outline your proposals for each day of the week, please.
Bundle on page 17 of your bundle, which states the supply of alcohol timings. It starts from page 17 at the bottom.
Right, it does, but on there...
I'm gonna go through with you. I'm just sorry. So if you look at it, we are doing 7 to 11 right through the whole week. But what we are suggesting to you today here is we are happy for licensable activities on Sunday to start at 10 o'clock and finish at 10 o'clock. So we would amend that from 10 o'clock to 10 o'clock, licensable activity.
Okay, and...
The rest would remain as 7 to 11.
Okay, and can I just, obviously the closing or unlike the licensing hours are noted from Monday through Saturday to be 11 o'clock. Is it intended that
That remains.
that's still, right, okay, lovely, thank you. Right, can I, unless we have any more questions, do we? Okay, Mr. Finn first then, please.
Yeah, can I just ask one really? On the security aspect, all these cameras and stuff they're going to install, do we have to wait for an instant before something is actioned, or is it monitored? Or how is it monitored?
I'm going to pass
Because
Ms. Barnshaw
if you're going
for
to
that
have all
one
this
because-
stuff, you're expecting incidents.
Okay, the licensing procedure is something that is done by our officers, and Ms. Barnshaw will be able to provide more information in terms of the monitoring.
So the nature of CCTV, it's been offered by the applicant. It's not been requested. We wouldn't monitor it. It would be used evidentially if there was an incident. So yeah, it's retrospective. It would be after an incident had occurred, or shoplifting, or whatever incident.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Flynn first, please.
So, yeah, sort of following on from that question. So it's a question of privacy. If you've got CCTV, my property is right adjacent to that. I mean, people walk past and they're going to have CCTV. I mean, how's it going to be installed, and how do you ensure privacy? The people who live above the shop, they've got the right to privacy as well. Is that going to be considered in the
Right, as I
application?
understand it, and again, perhaps you could confirm for me, the CCTV, I've actually got a question about that while we're on that. First of all, within the store itself, is the CCTV going to include the area where alcohol, because I noticed the alcohol is, as you walk in, at one of the first sections you come to. Will the CCTV be covering that area of the shop?
The CCTV in all of licenses, let me put it like that, in all shops these days, it covers the entire shop.
Okay.
With all the products.
Right.
It has to concern with the whole shop.
Okay.
And it's monitored, and we've just recently, I don't know whether you looked at it on ITV, there was a big program about how robberies are going in convenience stores. It's become the huge matter in this country. And everybody is trying to make sure that they can tackle that, especially the convenience stores.
Okay.
So it is up to the...
Yeah, I appreciate that it's obviously in your best interest as well.
Best interest to make sure that...
For sort of my own peace of mind, I just wanted to be clear that that was the case.
So
in terms of outside, obviously, we asked earlier on about how far the scope would be. Would you mind addressing Mr. Flynn's point, if you wouldn't mind?
The responsible authorities, especially the police, they tend to ask the shopkeepers if they can get the maximum outside coverage, because it does help them in other matters. When there is a stabbing or robbery or something outside the shop, it does help the responsible authorities if the shopkeepers can provide that CCTV. And hence, in this case, there will be a CCTV outside the shop covering the shop area, and it might even have the shop next door to the other. But there is always a poster saying CCTV in operation that is required by legal law. So anybody roaming around there, they must understand that there is a CCTV. So that covers up your saying that privacy, because it is there. And there is a matter which says that the CCTV is working here. So if you're passing around there, you need to understand that you are going to be CCTV, because it does say there. If there was no poster, I could sue them.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you.
So thanks for confirming that the crime will increase then, because you said that in convenience stores there's often crime. So you've confirmed there'll be an increase in crime in the area.
I'm not confirming that there will be an increase in crime. What you're saying is there is an increase in shoplifting everywhere around the country, the whole country. It doesn't mean that there's going to be crime in Cobham. Maybe it might not be. We could be the best borough in the area. But I'm just saying the reason for the CCTV, the responsible authorities are asking for, is that helps to undermine the crime. So by having a CCTV, you'll have less shopkeepers and less crime who are happening. These days and time, it is amazing to see people who are committing crimes, shoplifting, that you can't believe.
It's not just your kind of stuff. Your property will suffer, my property will suffer, because there's an increase in crime.
Right, can I...
That isn't the matter for...
I'd like to move on, if you wouldn't mind. I know Councillor Gordon has a question, and Councillor White. Perhaps Councillor Gordon, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah, mine's just one point I'd like to point out to the panel here. Most applicants don't have conditional licence, first of all. We impose the conditions, first of all. So at these meetings, we would say we want CCTV, we want training in place. This application has voluntarily offered 27 conditions on the licence. So that shows they've been extremely thorough an applicant, and they're doing their due diligence, first of all. So that's quite unusual to sit here normally, have these conditions given to us. We normally go away and we'd write these conditions on them, but they're actually volunteering as part of the licence. So if the licence is granted with these conditions on it, they can't deviate at all from these conditions. So basically it's a deal breaker. So the fact they're volunteering it shows they're taking it quite seriously, just from your point of view, how conditions work. So I'll expand that.
Okay, and Councillor White, please.
I believe that I'm going to stray from the actual licensing conditions, but looking at the plan of your shop, you have an entrance and an exit. For security purposes, do you think that's a good idea, to have a through run through the shop? Would it not be better just to have one entrance and exit?
Is a leaving part. That is on page 31. We're talking page 31. You're talking about the plan. Yeah. So that exit and the entrance that you look at there, that's the entrance and that's the exit for the clients who come into the shop. The exit you're looking at the bottom in the store, that is a fire exit.
So that is the store area as opposed to the store meaning, sorry.
Throughput.
That's the storing area as opposed to the store shop.
Yeah, it's a storing
Okay,
area.
all right, my bad. Right.
Right, okay, that's lovely. So the public access, if I'm looking at this...
Sorry, I have to go at 12. I just want to check one more thing about the conditions and the choices that the council has. So you have the choice to grant the licence as it's written. You have the choice to put other conditions on it, which might be the times. And then presumably you could set a time A to B, and then presumably the applicant could then, I don't know, open 6 months later, ask for a review. Or you can put all the hours, and then the residents get an opportunity to ask for a review?
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
And what will happen if the applicant isn't happy with whatever decision we make, he is entitled to apply to magistrate for appeal.
Okay.
So that's how that works. And then, yeah, as you say, at any point, the police can ask, can members of the public ask as well for a review, to have it looked at. So if it turns out that in 6 months' time, for whatever reason, whether it be crime or whatever, it doesn't work, then we can always look at it again.
Okay, but also it can be the other way round, which is you can put a more restrictive hours
Yes, we can have a
condition,
review of it.
and
So
the
we can
business can
basically
say,
sit
actually,
and do all
could
this
we look at
again.
it again?
And
Okay, I
then
just wanted to
obviously we would then
understand.
take into account any incidences or what have you, any comments the police might have to make in exactly the same way as we are now, to literally review whether or not that
Thanks
goes
so
ahead.
much.
Okay.
Thanks. I'm going to...
Councillor Gordon, did you... Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were indicating or not. Lovely. Mr Flynn?
Well, you mentioned that they have the right to appeal. As a private citizen, would I have the right to appeal if the licence was granted? Yes. Okay, thanks for
Okay, can I just going back to where we were at? Am I right in saying then, obviously following Councillor White's point, that on the page 31, I am now, the proposed licence plan, the public area is outlined in red. Is that, yeah, that's right? Okay, lovely.
On the plan, that's a licensable activity.
Right, lovely. Okay, that's fine. Now, do either of you have any more questions? Lovely, thank you. Could I now ask you to sum up, if you wouldn't mind, if you wish to do so? We wouldn't.
As in, like, to summarise your case before the members go into deliberations, if there's any closing remarks you want to make, you can't make any new information.
Yeah, you
so
don't
if
need
just
to,
want
and it's
close off, as it were.
something that.
Sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Sorry. The normal hearings, the sum up is done to the objectors first and then the applicant.
Oh, okay, I can do it that way round, I
Yeah.
don't mind. Is there anything, any further sort of sum up that you'd like to add?
Well, unfortunately, Jackie's left, so she doesn't have the opportunity to sum that. But from my perspective, I think that, thank you for confirming that I can appeal, and I will be appealing if the licence is granted. I believe what was presented has many holes in it, and I fundamentally disagree with some of the things that they've said with respect to crime statistics, with respect to people walking to the property, to the shop, and parking, which is an issue already. From my perspective, I think there's a very strong case to not allow for certainly a licensed premises with these late hours as well. So thank you.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Mr or Mrs Finn, is there anything you'd like to add in sum up?
Well, I think we've covered everything pretty much, but I think from our point of view, just those 4 I know I can't really discuss parking, but I mean, it's going to be an issue, just those 4 little spaces outside their shop. When you look at the photographs, it includes all of our premises in the photographs about the parking, and it looks vast. But the reality is that outside number 41 and 43, it's 4 spaces, and they have to go. There's no turning circle, is what I'm trying to say. You just have to drive straight in. But I realise that's not really relevant.
I fully understand what you're saying and the point that you're making, but as somebody, me, Ms Barnshaw, perhaps explained earlier on, unfortunately, with the legislation written as it is, it's not something that, from a licensing perspective, that we're able to consider.
Okay.
Just very quickly on that, of course, it's not an issue because they're all walking.
Okay, can I ask you to sum up, if you wouldn't mind, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. In light of the absence of any responsible authorities' objections, the experience and good track record that you've seen, and the robust conditions that we are proposing, and additional measures proposed, and the lack of evidence of any unlikely harm, we ask you to look at guidance section 182 of 14.19, 1.18 when you're making your decisions, and 9.43 we respectfully submit that the application fully promotes the licensing objectives. Accordingly, we invite the subcommittee to grant the premises license today. Thank you very much, Chair.
Lovely, thank you very much. I just want to be certain that everybody has had the opportunity to say all they wish to say, if I may. Sorry, I couldn't.
Is there a transcript of this, or is it recorded, what was said during this?
Yeah, I think it's all public meetings. We have on the YouTube
Yes,
channel, so have a
so
look back.
there will
is it
be
not?
an official set of minutes produced for this meeting, which will eventually be signed by the Licensing Committee of the Council. This meeting, as it has been discussed today, as you can see on the projector, it has been streamed also to the Council's YouTube channel as well. So the discussions present will be available there as well. But the official written record will be in the published minutes, which will be released within the regular rotation of legal documents by the Council in due course. But yes, there is a YouTube video that is currently being broadcast live, as it were.
Thank
Sorry,
you
just
very much.
before we finish, could I just ask you to clarify, you said section 182 of the Licensing Act, and you said a few other points as well. Could you give me those specific sections again, please? Sorry.
I put down 14.19, which is the need of the licensing. 1.18, which is the guidance that was a new one that came in. When making this licensing decision, all licensing authorities should consider the need to promote growth and deliver economic benefits. Now, what has happened is, just to clarify, the guidance removed all the sections when 1.18 was inducted, all the others went down. But I've just covered it in a different way. Like 9.43, it is in your bundle also, the 9.43.
Thank you.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Could I just, obviously you have just summed up, but for the record, just confirm that you've had the opportunity to present what you wish to present and say that all you have wanted to say for the committee to consider. Lovely, thank you. Right, in that case, the committee are now going to, we're now going to leave the room to deliberate. I'm sorry. I'd ask that you all remain in the room, as we may need to call you back if there's any point of further clarification that we require. The clerk and legal advisor will also be joining us for clarification on legal issues. Has anyone any objections to the legal advisor leaving with the committee? As a no, thank you very much. Right, thank you very much for time and patience. Right, okay, as I say, thank you very much for your patience. We have come to a decision which we obviously put together, and I'm just, as you know, simply going to read it to you. You've moved around, you can't do that. Just swap seats. Right, so the premises, obviously, right, Surrey Borough Council Licensing Subcommittee on the 20th of April of 2026. This is the decision sheet for an application for a premises licence under the Licensing Act of 2003. The premises address is Londis, 43, Windsor Road, Chobham, Surrey, GU 24 8LD. We consider that the application satisfies the necessary requirements in order to be considered as it is on the prescribed form. It has been advertised and relevant notifications given. We are grateful to the parties for their presentations to us this morning. We have taken these and the written material submitted to us into account. We have considered what is appropriate to promote the 4 licensing objectives and the relevant parts of the Council's licensing policy and the Home Office guidance. During our deliberations, no issues of law or policy arose, and so the subcommittee was not required to call on its advisory officers for advice. The subcommittee noted that all the submissions and representations, both oral and written, made in submission to this application. The subcommittee is also aware that any conditions imposed must be appropriate, be capable of being enforceable, and must not undermine the licensing objectives, and that each case must be determined on its own merits. The decision of this subcommittee is that the application for a premises licence in 43 Windsor Road, Chobham, Surrey, GU 24 8LD, the licence is granted, subject to the conditions as submitted by the applicant within their application and as set out barring the sale and supply of alcohol is permitted only on the days and hours as set out below. Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2200, 10 p.m. and Sundays, 10 a.m. till 9 p.m, so 2100 hours. The conditions are also added, the below conditions are also added to the licence. Firstly, litter. A responsible member of staff shall carry out proactive litter patrols outside the premises at least throughout the premises opening hours at 12, 5 and specifically at the end of trading hours to ensure there's no litter associated with the premises in the immediate vicinity and any such litter found to be collected and returned to the premises for disposal within the normal waste refuge collection. Signs, 1.2, signs shall be prominently displayed at the exit from the premises asking patrons to dispose of their waste in litter bins. Number 2, deliveries. Deliveries will only take place between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Number 3, training. 3.1, all staff who are authorised to sell alcohol shall receive regular training in the Licensing Act of 2003 in terms of the Licensing Act objectives, offences committed under the Act and conditions of the premises licence. 3.2, all staff who are authorised to sell alcohol shall receive refresher training in the Licensing Act of 2003 at intervals of no more than 12 months. 3.3, signed and dated written records of all staff training in the Licensing Act 2003 shall be kept of all staff training and such records kept available for inspection at the premises for a period of at least 1 calendar year from the day of entry. The records must set out the name of each member trained, the date provided, details of the person who provided the training, and an acknowledgement that the staff have been so trained. The record shall be available for inspection by authorised officers of the licensing authority and police at all times the premises are open. We are also attaching the mandatory conditions contained in sections 19 to 21 of the Licensing Act of 2003. The right of appeal. The applicants and persons who made relevant representations are reminded of their right to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the written notification of this decision and the review mechanism under the Licensing Act of 2003 because of any matters arising in the future at the premises in connection with any of the 4 licensing objectives, namely the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. And I have signed that with today's date. I'd also like to note, just before I finish, that as we did touch on earlier on, the road safety element and the presence of the fact that there is a shop there at all is not within the remit of this committee. We can simply make a decision on the licensing element of the application that's put before us. On that note, I would like to thank my colleagues and the officers, as always, and for both parties for attending, or parties for attending, and wish you a good afternoon. Thank you very much.